Welcome to another episode of Get in Your Bag. I am your host, Miranda, and if you're new here, thank you for joining me. And yeah, let's just get cracking into it. Today's episode, I wanted to speak about things I wish I knew before starting a hair business. I genuinely feel like this is not really spoken about. There's so many things that we learn across the board throughout the journey. I have 4 tips ready to discuss with you guys about things I wish I knew before I started. When it comes to the hair industry, it's not just about doing hair. Like everyone can do hair, everyone can be great at their skill, but it's about having a business mindset, which I think a lot of people don't have, especially with like the recent scandals and just story times that are flooding social media. So these are 4 key things from my point of view, which I feel like will help you get into the business mindset. So if you're new, entrepreneur ready to get into the hair industry or just beauty industry in general, these tips are for you. The first and most important one for me is just understanding that your friends are not your clients, or your friends will not buy from you always. In the past, I've had a clothing business, and honestly, for me, I didn't want people to know it was me just based off the support. Same thing with the hair industry as well. Like I always separated it, the personal side of things versus the business side of things, and putting my face forward because I was scared of the support that I would get. But the harsh reality is understanding that your friends aren't always going to buy from you. They're always, most likely will go to someone else because they specialize in something else. So, for example, if you only offer ponytails and your friends wear wigs, they might not come to you, obviously, for obvious reasons. So don't take it too personal. I feel like in the beginning, we all want support from everyone, friends, family, and that can come in many different ways. So don't take it to heart if your friend doesn't book you or will go to someone else. Like in the beginning, I'll be so honest, it is a bit disheartening, but always remember you need to find your own target audience. On the topic of finding, your target audience and not necessarily relying on your friends to bring you and set that clientele in, it's important to separate business versus personal. And in the beginning, it was one thing that I definitely struggled with because I would always put my feelings into things. And it's important, again, in life in general to understand that don't take things too personal, especially when it comes to business, because again, you're going to meet so many different people along the way. You're going to build your clientele and your community. So don't even worry about that. Another thing I wish I knew, again, off the back end of like, your friends not always supporting you or being your ideal client, is that it is okay to say no. This is one thing that I will heavily stand on, is setting clear boundaries, your clients just respecting your policies. You're going to meet different people along the way. One thing I have realized in this industry that we all have in common, whether it's the beauty industry or whatever industry, as a quote unquote service provider, so someone who offers a service to people, we are dealing with people every day, and naturally we are more approachable, we're more sociable, and we want to cater to people. That's basically, the type of characteristics we have. However, it is important to not become a people pleaser or go based off that characteristics when you're dealing with people. It can be very detrimental to your mental health and it can lead to burnout, which I have mentioned before. So it's just important to understand and work with people who respect your policies, adhere to basically what you have to offer. One thing in this industry, saying no is never the easiest, and you don't want to come across as a people pleaser. However, it is important to say no at times when you are faced with difficult situations, and it's not the best, especially if you're someone who isn't, confrontational or knows how to deal with conflict best. But this is why it's important to make sure that your policies are clear, booking instructions are clear, and that you also emphasize on certain things. And one thing that I can say in this industry is that along the way, you're going to learn things all the time. Like we learn by doing and we learn through experiences. So it's okay to have bad experiences because you know to learn from it. So if something bad does happen, reflect it in your policy. If people are late, naturally charge for your time, whether that's 10 minutes, 5 minutes, or being an hour late. Just stand on what you feel like is right for your business and your ways of working. Another thing I wish I knew before starting a hair business was that social media is a full-time job in itself. And even just not being a hairstylist, just a natural business owner, it is all around the clock thing. Filming, posting, replying, editing, it requires your time. And this is something that you do have to put 100% effort into because marketing is key. Social media plays a really big part in the marketing of everything, especially when you're starting out. You want people to know who you are and you want people to, come and book you basically. However, if you actually don't set time aside to post your work, that can be one of your biggest downfalls just because you're going to come across as inactive. So have your filming days, your content days, build a strategy and a plan of what you want your audience to see. Bring in models, do model call-ins. You don't have to do the installs for free. I'm just saying, but have days where you're doing content days and probably get people to pay a small model fee or something like that. That definitely helps and can build towards your strategy of gaining that exposure and brand awareness. One thing I will say with social media though is not to overthink it too much. I feel like we're always trying to release things that are perfect or 100% done. But like I said, we learn across the way. There's certain things that, I might look at a video of hair and it's just like, I'm not really feeling it. But someone else might see it and think this is absolutely amazing. Just post it because you don't know what eyes it's going to reach. And it definitely pays off in the end because I've had many clients come to me and say, this is my inspo. But in my head, I never thought that was like the best work. But just post everything, but also just be guided and intentional with what you post. There are also times where social media can get really hectic, especially with the downside of things and like people taking things to the internet. And this is why I feel like it's so important for you to avoid those things. So like I said, bad experiences don't always mean failure or it's time to quit. Just work on it and apply what you have learned. Like those lessons are so important to your business. If things really do start to get a bit much, hire someone. There's platforms like Fiverr where you can probably get videos edited for you for a really good price, or even just find a personal assistant that's someone who knows your business and someone who you can actually train to understand your business. On the back end of the social media point as well, I do want to highlight that it is important not to just be posting your portfolio all the time. I feel like we're living in a time where building a personal brand is what buys in. And at the beginning, it can be really hard because, like I said, for me personally, I didn't want people to know that I did hair. Like, I didn't show my face on my page. One thing that I've learned to understand is that people fall in love with the person behind the brand. And again, find a mentor or someone who you look up to and influences you to a degree of how you want your business to be or to become. Not to necessarily copy, but take a blueprint out of someone's strategy. And someone who really helped me along the way was Gemma. She is absolutely amazing. And I feel like everyone should at least book in a consultation to understand and get just a review of your business from someone who understands social media and is a pure strategist. One thing to take off from this point is don't post just your portfolio. Of course, post your portfolio because that's what people are going to book you with. But add elements of your story, your journey, why you started and why people should book you. Last but not least, just to round off this episode on this point, and for me, this is like one of the biggest ones because I genuinely didn't know this before I got into this industry, is that you're not just going to be a hairstylist. You are also going to be someone's therapist, as well as an influencer as well, because people are going to be inspired by your work. On the topic of being a therapist, it's not easy sometimes because it can be draining. And a lot of people do come to their appointments and express themselves. And it's just a place of being, comfortable and having someone to talk to, especially after like a long week of, hecticness. And, you meet people from different walks of life, like mothers who this hair appointment is so important to them because they're transforming themselves, they're away from their kids, or people getting ready for their birthday. They just want a stress relief. Be the therapist, be someone who has an opening ear. Again, we are people's people, if I'm making sense, but we understand people and we're here for people. We offer a service. And I feel like it's one thing that it is very touching because it is a journey. You're going to come across people again from different walks of life. Personally, from my experience, I have met so many amazing people, so many people that I didn't think I needed to have met that day. But we've had the most amazing conversations throughout the hair appointment. And it really is a good feeling because you're making people look good at the end of the appointment, as well as being someone with an opening ear. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. and I'll see you guys in the next one.